Hi everyone. I am a big fan of Demon Hunter, and specifically, a very big fan of the uh, Unhallowed Essence build. Big fan. I've in season 16. I've been working through with this build. It's really good for clearing T13 rifts. If we have a look through this gear here, we can see that every single piece of gear that can be augmented is augmented. Okay, they're all got rank 90 augment. Some of these pieces are also primal, except the Traveller's Pledge. I really struggled to get a decent Traveller's Pledge with fire damage on it for multi-shot arsenal. But the rest of this gear is really like top notch. It's about as good as it can be without being primal. Now I've managed to clear GR104, Greater Rift 104 with this set, and it was hard. It was very hard. And then I met somebody the other day who said, "Hey, you need to be trying Shadow Impale instead." So this is my Shadow Impale build. Let's just flip over to that. And Shadow Impale doesn't hit as many mobs as multi-shot. It's a melee class. It doesn't rely on Zai's Stone of Vengeance, which means that you need to keep far away from mobs uh, to increase your damage. But in this case, you don't need to. You can actually be right hard up against them. Let's just flip that back again, because it's one of these things that's quite clear. Look, we're looking at the sheet damage here is 2.6 million. Okay, 2.6 million, 65,000. That's just a combination of the Compass Rose and the Traveller's Pledge, to be honest. And the fact that we've got a lot of dexterity, 16,000 dexterity, and of course dexterity is armor. Okay, so you don't need armor on a dexterity class. You can just get dexterity, that is armor, and that adds into the toughness. Let's just flip back again to the Impale build, and we can see we've got, wait till that settles. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's got a decent Traveller's Pledge on it. Okay, let's just roll around and then stop. There we go, that's more like it, so that's a bit bugged. So that's now down to 49,000. We can see that dexterity is only 12,000. That's a 4,000 drop on dexterity. Even looking at this, is exactly the same Paragon setup. Okay, got a lot of Paragon for season 16, maxed on all the tabs. This is identical, but we have 4,000 Paragon less. 4,000. So why is this set so good? Well, it's really basically a single target build. But if you have a specific rune on Impale, which is Ricochet, throw a knife that impales enemies, knife ricochets to additional enemies. So if we have a look at that, that just says knife ricochets, press Control key. The knife ricochets to 2 additional enemies nearby within 20 yards of each other. So this is where this build really works. It is almost a multi-shot build. It's not quite the same. It's not a screen clearer. You're better off with UE multi-shot for T13 content, but for greater rifts you cannot beat this build, really. GR104 with the UE multi-shot, and it was augmented up to the eyeballs. Let's go over the gear here, right? So 2 set bonus. While equipped with a melee weapon, your damage is increased by 6,000%. 4 set bonus. Shadow Power gains the effect of every rune and lasts forever. So we just need to fire that skill, and we don't need to use it again for the entire rift. Okay. 6 piece bonus. Impale deals an additional 75,000% weapon damage to the first enemy hit. So really it's that centre enemy, although it does 3 knives when it throws, and it is a thrown knife. That central enemy is the one that we're really concentrating on. That's the one that's going to get hit for 75,000% extra damage. This really, really works. It's a Rift Guardian killer. It really is. So on your weapon, you definitely want to get that 10% extra damage. That's your primary stat you want to get on there. On your quiver, you definitely want some crit on there. Your crit chance and crit damage really, really matter with this build. But really what makes this build sing is convention of elements. Okay, that means that every 16 seconds when it hits your rotation for your elemental damage, it's going to start doing, in this case, 190% additional damage. And this is a multiplier on top of all the other damage types that you do. So you want to get that damage type. So let's look at the skill here. We're using Ricochet, and Ricochet we can see is lightning damage. Okay, so lightning damage. We want lightning damage on your braces. We want lightning damage on your amulet if you can, and anywhere else that you can get it. So where else have I got it? I've actually got it on the quiver, which is great. So we have a total of 55% extra lightning damage. Yeah, impale damage increase 15%. That's coming from my boots. But really, when you're talking about 75,000%, 15% on top of that, really doesn't make a great deal of difference. Your area damage is also good. So when you're hitting enemies 20% of the time, flat 20% of the time, you will be hitting all the surrounding enemies for, in this case, 85% of that main damage. So if I did 100 damage to that mob, I'd be doing 85 to all mobs that are surrounding it. So area damage is really important here. Mobility. So with the Demon Hunter, we know we have hatred. Every time we cast Impale, we're going to be spending that hatred. Every time we vault, we're going to be spending the discipline. But the belt is really quite interesting here because it says after using Impale, vault costs no resource for 2 seconds. So what we can do is we can just do an Impale and then vault. And if there are mobs around, when you hit Impale, that one, when you hit Impale, damage of Impale is increased by 373%, and it returns 15 hatred if it hits an enemy. So you're vaulting, you're impaling, you hit some enemies, you get your hatred back, you're not spending any discipline. So this really, really works quite well. So let's see how this actually works in practice. So I've talked enough. And I'm going to do a GR100. So I do have my helper, of course, my Templar there. But I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and let's do a GR100. Bearing in mind, UE multi-shot probably caps out around GR90 for ease. GR104 I found at a push, fully augmented. None of these pieces of gear, the helm is, the convention of elements is, and that's because it's come from my UE build. The rest of this gear is not augmented. It's ancient, yes, which means it's got decent stats on it. All the rolls have got decent stats. Oh, hang on, there we got another one there. So we've got 3. Compass Rose has got 1. The convention of elements has got 1, and the helm. I don't think any other piece of gear on here has, because it's not part of this build. It was originally part of my UE build. I've just been collecting this gear in the background. Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to pop Shadow Power, and then we're going to start rolling. So I'm spending my discipline at the moment. Now we don't want to be standing in the explosions. We want to be standing in that circle if we can, because obviously it increases the damage. That's an Oculus ring circle. But I've never seen trillion hits before. They've got a T on the end there. If you look at those, these are just the crits that are showing. The numbers that are showing on the screen are just the crits, just the critical hits. And I'm seeing a lot of these. Actually, you will find that this build is very low for a lot of the normal hits. But when you hit your convention of elements cycle, you'll really do some damage. And because of the the other skill we've got here is the woo, really. It's not standing there. The other skill we've got is Fan of Knives. Fan of Knives is actually a shield. So that's what that blue bubble is around my character there, and that really, really helps with the toughness on this this character. There we go. We just saw an 11T hit there, 11 trillion. Now on my UE multi-shot build, I was lucky to see 2 billion. So whilst this build does not do such high hits when it's down in the non-buffed end, we've seen a few 100 million, whereas UE multi-shot would do billions all the way across. When it actually hits its cycle, it massively increases the damage it does. We're seeing T hits here. We're seeing a few millions there. Come on, let's get the cycle up again. Oh, it's a dead end. But we do see some 6,000 billions. We never see that with UE multi-shot. So there's quite a bigger range on this. You've got... I just saw a T hit there. So there we go. 12 trillion. 12 trillion. Now, we would never even see a 6 billion hit on UE multi-shot, even if it was really well tuned. For this we do. We see trillion hits. We want to stand that circle if we can. We do, no, 8,000 billion I just saw there. Just saw a T come up, but that's not, I didn't actually see the number, and we're off this level, there's no elite. So, next one. So 11.6 trillion hit. This is just so much better than UE multi-shot. You've really got to run. For GR pushing, you cannot beat this. 7,000 billion. Just saw another trillion hit. Now, as I say, I do want to get those circles maximised to that fan damage. Obviously don't stand explosions.
I'm still waiting.
And I'm just spamming blade, fan of knives here. Fan of knives and my companion. That's it. We're running ahead of the timer. That's good. See, I'm now. Look. So when I just vaulted there, that spent all my discipline. So if I do impale and vault, you can see it didn't use any discipline there. And when you hit the mobs, you can see the hatred just comes straight back up to max. So regen is really not an issue with this build. It's fantastic. I wish I'd discovered it a year ago. I know that the email shot is hailed as the best speed farm built, and it is, right? It's a screen killer. But greater rifts really cannot beat this. You know, I've not even augmented the damn thing yet. It's just rocking. Totally rocking. 42 trillion I just saw there. 42 trillion. That's 42,000 billion. So, oh, and the other point is GR100. I haven't died yet. That's probably put the mockers on it. But anyway, the point is that most likely you will die on a GR100 if you're using any other build other than this. It's tough as nails. It hits hard. I should probably leave that to 15 trillion hit. Let's go. Right, next level. There we go, we've got a champion, so we're going to concentrate on it. Ooh, take some hits there. And that's the key point. Oh, ooh, not good either. That did not trigger my cheat death. I don't mind. You just, when you start taking hits, you just move. But you do need, you don't have the dependency on being far away from mobs. You can be right up close. It's not a good idea to stand anything that looks bad. You know this from playing the game. There we go. Okay. Right, we're pretty close to the Rift Guardian popping now. If there's anywhere I'm going to die, it's going to be on there. But I think it's done pretty well already. We're running well ahead of the time, just for a 14.6 trillion hit. There we go, alright, Rift Guardian. And he's dead. 6 minutes, 21 seconds remaining. So where are we at with that? Let's just pick up all this stuff. We'll go and chat to her. She upgrade some gems.
Let's see the gem.
Yeah, it's a 100. So it's gonna be that one. If you're more than 10 levels above, then you get 100% upgrades. Okay, that's good. Go back to town. Let's see how we're looking on the time. Get rid of that. Get rid of the junk. Those need a better look at. And let's see how we're doing for time.
Your valor is unsurpassed.
8 minutes 38. GR100. Thank you very much. Shadow Impale set. It rocks. Seriously. Use it. See you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.